right, we are live. This is the 7th of March, Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. I'm reaching out to you from Bowie, Maryland. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. My name is Virginia Dahl, and I've been doing this for, well, almost 20 years now. That seems like a long time, but it's been a very pleasant ride and enjoying the option now of reaching customers or friends or fellow crafters through the means of technology. And that has enabled me to make some new friends and to reach out to my sisters and be able to uh, talk with them a little bit when I don't normally see them on a daily basis. So that's kind of nice. I've enjoyed connecting with friends from various parts of my life. So that's been really good to be able to do that. So okay, um, well, yes, Stamping Up is a company that I am an independent demonstrator for, and I have been doing this for, as I said, 20 years. And I have all kinds of great information to share with you. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. And I will show you a couple of things really quickly here. We are in the midst of our mini catalog. That's still ongoing through May 1st, although it says April 2023, but May 1st is actually the deadline for these products that are in this catalog. And these are, spring and spring holiday kinds of cards and events and occasions. And so many of the stamp sets are geared toward those. So that is still ongoing. If you see something tonight that you like that I happen to mention that might be in the mini catalog, it would be a really good idea because yes, we're in March, but April comes along really rather quickly. And many of these, or all of the items, or many, I should say, of these items will be retiring at the end, I guess, on May 1st. So if you see something here, some things are already sold out, and we will not be getting them back in. So I would make an effort to get whatever it is that you want as soon as possible, so that you can have it, so that you can enjoy the product. All right. We also have our annual catalog, of course, which is from May of 2022 through April of 2023, and actually that ends up being May 1st, I believe, on that one. I can check that date here. Yeah, May 3rd. I'm sorry. So the catalog ends technically May 3rd, but yeah. Again, we are in stock with everything as far as I know. There might be a few things. We don't do back orders anymore. If something is out of the warehouse, we're out of stock. We take it temporarily off of off of the online catalog, and then we'll let you know when that particular item comes back in stock. We will be using a stamp set from the annual catalog and some designer series paper from the mini catalog. So I'll bring these back in just a minute. All right, one final thing. We've just recently launched, I should say, a new way of getting products out to you, and it's called our online exclusives. And this is meant to offer you products through our online store only. None of these items will be carried over, or you will not see them in any of our regular catalogs. These are only on the online store and only while supplies last. So be careful to make sure that if you see something that you like, again, order it as soon as possible. If you have a demonstrator, please use your demonstrator. If you don't, I'd be delighted to help you with that. So anyway, that will work out very nicely for all of us. Sorry, that was my phone. I'm not sure why that decided to be loud. Maybe I should silence it. There we go. All right. Okay. So anyway, next week I will be doing this. I will be using the Hello Irresistible Suite along with the paper and the loose frosted dots and one of these embossing folders here. As a demonstrator, I was able to order there were certain products that we as demonstrators were allowed to order from the online exclusive about a month ago. So I went ahead and ordered this, and I've been playing with this set, and I am really very happy to show you next week exactly what this means. But again, online exclusive while supplies last. All right, so, and these are 3 other sets of products, a set of classic letters, 3D embossing folders, and that's a package of 3 of them. Then some naturally gilded 12 by 12 specialty designer series paper, and that's in copper, silver, and gold. Beautiful background pieces. All right, so the stamp set that we're using today comes from our annual catalog. And, sorry, one more page. It's called Campology. It's this set right here. And I have been really anxious to use this. I have not done a lot with masculine cards lately, and I thought I've been really anxious to use this. So we have some examples of some ways that these cards this stamp set can be used. This Sail Away, or Let's Set Sail. We've got some examples over here. The Wildlife Wonder, some examples here. And the Campology one, I believe, is this one, this green one right here. It's hard to see it, but You Brighten My Path. It has a bunch of, I hope you can see that, the light, the lantern that is on the background for that piece. So that's the main one that we're going to focus on today. I'll show you how to use a masking technique with this to make this card, and I think you'll be most happy to learn that skill if you don't already know. All right, and so that's on page 80 in our annual catalog. And in addition, I will be showing you some more masculine birthday cards. And one of the masculine birthday cards utilizes this designer series paper. And it's difficult to see because it's so small right there. But these are mostly scenes like you'd see in the mountains or camping when you're out camping. But I don't have this stamp set yet, or the die set yet. But I was able to get the paper, and I used it with someone else's idea. Actually someone, and I'll mention who that is when we get to that point. So we'll be looking at this in just a little bit. All right. That's as one of the examples, but we won't be making a card like that. We'll be just seeing how I did that. All right. Now, this is the card that we're making. As I said, we're doing masculine birthday cards. So this I thought was probably about as masculine as I can get. Not a lot of bling, not a lot of shine on it. Okay, but there is a nice card. And not only do men like camping, women do too. But I mean, mostly our cards that we gear towards the masculine gender. We try to tone it down and not make it so glittery and flowery and, frilly. But there's some products here I want to tell you about that I'm really excited about using. So I'm glad I was able to use these things. So here is the stamp set. Well, I mean, the card that we're using. I'll show you in just a few minutes the stamp set. Here it is, right here. Campology. It is a cling mount stamp set, which means it is red rubber, and there's cushioning on that red rubber. So the cushion, so that it gives you a nice clear image. So we don't need our paper piercing mat tonight, but actually one step we do need it, but I'll pull it out when I'm ready to use that. So we're using Campology. We'll be using Peaceful Deer, and we'll be using the stars right here, snowflake slash stars right here for Out of Peaceful Deer. This is a photopolymer stamp set. And we're using the sentiment, happy birthday, from the Peaceful Moments stamp set. All right, and then we are also using, and I've already done much of this for you, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss Bark 3D embossing folder. And I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes when I pull out the materials for the card. And using the Deckled Rectangle. And this is a die set that I just got, and I am thrilled to have it. I'm just so happy to have this die set. I really do like, okay, I really do like the edges that this gives me. Okay. All right, so there we go with that. I'm going to put all those things over there. I did choose to use the classic matte dots, and I believe these here at the bottom are more kind of a brownish black, and I wanted that brown color, so that's what I chose, why I chose to use the classic matte dots. We'll be using several types of several ink pads, but one piece of, I guess one type of thing I've not shown you yet, and Stampin' Up has what we call masking paper. We will be using that. It comes in 5x7, 12 sheets of 5x7 paper that is actually, you can cut it in half. And actually use it that way. It's much easier to use that way. And then we'll be stamping the image that we need right here. And you would cut this out, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Okay. All right. So here's the paper that we need. We're using a very vanilla envelope. All right. We will be using our Early Espresso ink pad to stamp the, I believe it is the binoculars. Yeah, binoculars. So we'll be using that really quickly. This is a piece of the masking paper, and you can see I've turned down the edge of it so that you can see it's sticky on one side and you can stamp on this side. It's like a Post-it note. There are some Post-it notes that we used to use that are super sticky Post-it notes, but they're sticky all over. They're a little difficult to find sometimes, and even though your Post-it note might say it's super sticky, it really isn't. It's only super sticky at the top. You have to find the ones that are super sticky all over. And there's usually a little grid line or whatever at the top of the Post-it note that kind of indicates that it's a little different than the others. Anyway, I kept that for a reason, and I'll show you why, but that's the piece that I cut out, okay, of that. I went ahead and I stamped on one of the deckled rectangles the actual, and this is the actual stamp. Let's pull this out. This is the stamp. Okay. I went ahead and then I covered it up with the piece that I cut out, the mask piece. This is the piece that I cut out of this right here. And you'll see why I did that in a few minutes. Okay, I'll explain that process to you. All right, now we have, this is our very vanilla. And that started out as a piece of 4 by 5 1/4. No, that was 3 3/4 by 5. Then you need a scrap of the very vanilla to cut out your greeting with. So that's that piece there. Then there's a piece of very vanilla that is 4 by 5 1/4, and that goes on the inside of the card. Okay. Then we need our garden green, which is our card base, and that is 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2. Then you need a scrap of the garden green. And then finally, you need a piece of Early Espresso, and this layer was 4 by 5 1/4, and I went ahead and I embossed it with the Bark embossing folder. I think you can see the texture in that because we're doing, we're talking about the woods and it's camping and, it just seemed really appropriate to use that. So I decided to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and do our stamping. We're going to do a little bit of stamping here, some of which I have already done for you, just to make sure that we didn't spend a lot of time doing something that you probably already know how to do. All right, so these are not photopolymer. I do not need any kind of cushioning because there's cushioning already part of that, or part of this. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to stamp this twice actually. All right. On the outside of my envelope, and then on the inside I'm going to stamp on the corner down here. And my pad, I think my Early Espresso pad might just be a little bit dry. This is a distinctive stamp set, which means there's a lot of detail in the stamp itself, and it looks like it's almost a photograph. Okay, and I think you can see from that, that's pretty good. As soon as that camera calms down a little bit and stops being blurry. There you go. That's the distinctive stamp. Okay, so those two pieces are stamped for us. So we were done with that. Okay, and I will put that away. I won't need that again. All right, let's put that over here. Okay, now let's go ahead and start assembling a little bit, but then I will do some stamping on this. Let's get some of these loose pieces off so I don't end up getting them smeared in ink. So pieces I've already stamped, let's go ahead and put them on the inside. This goes on the inside of our card. And I used my Stamp and Seal to adhere this. You can use any type of adhesive that you want to. I tend to like to use the tape adhesive to put my card, my insert inside of the card. Turning this sideways, looking all the way around, trying to measure and make sure I have fairly even margin all the way. Okay, there we go. And that's the inside of our card. Very good. Okay, now of course I always use my bone folder to make sure I have a good crisp crease there so that the card lays flat. So I'm setting that aside for just a minute. Now let's go to pick our piece right here. This is where we're going to do a little bit of stamping. We're going to use the trees. And that's the reason that we have this all covered up, because we're going to put trees around and make sure that we are not totally covering, but at least it looks something like this, except I put my tent down a little bit closer to the bottom because I didn't want it to look like it was floating in the air. I think someone mentioned when they looked at it that they thought, oh, that's floating in the air. And it's like, no, not really. But you can see that I have on the top of my ink pad the old stencil or the old mask that I used. And I thought it might serve if I used a fresh mask so that you could see. So this is the garden green. And I'm going to turn this upside down because this is a big stamp and I need to make sure that I get this fully covered. It'll be pretty dark. All right. And I'm going to, and it looks like I'm stamping on top of and I am, but the mask will cover up my image. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, pretty much just like that. All right, you see how that missed the top of that? All right, then I'm going to stamp one more time. Hi, Karen. I'm glad you could join me. All right, now this part, I'm just going to be actually doing only part of it because I'm going to leave a big space right there. Try to do this as evenly as I can. All right. Okay, there we go. A little break in the woods there. Now I'm going to come back with that same stamp. Again, turning my stamp over and turning the ink pad over so I get good coverage for that. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to give it a little bit of, there we go, covering it there, and put some stamps, put some around the other side here. This masking technique enables you to get as close as you want to get, but also it enables you to um, have something look like it's in the background rather than, or in the foreground rather than in the background. I'm going to do this like this. Okay, excellent. See, like the trees are, now that does not look like it's floating around there. I think that looks pretty good, actually. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a tree right here. Okay, excellent. And it looks like it's surrounded by that. So, all right, here we go. All right, so that's our garden green. Now I'm going to use a couple of techniques here, or actually not necessarily a technique, but a couple of things here that we call it, well, that'll make it more interesting and give you the color in the background that you see here. All right, I'm going to take, oops, I need the garden green again, sorry. Since I'm going to keep my mask on that for a little while because I want to do this. This is our mini blending brush, our small blending brush. We have regular size blending brushes now. These, by the way, are just amazing. I have not really, before we got these, I was not really able to blend things very well, I thought. But now I can blend things much, much better. All right, because that's pretty saturated with ink right there, I'm going to start off my paper and then I'm going to go back on over here and I'm going to put a little green in my grass and just keep going around and over. And it doesn't take much. I want to make sure that I get that fully covered there. And because I have that area masked, I can go as dark as I want to. Or as light. And I'm going to go up here in the trees a little bit and give a little bit of dimension to those trees by adding a little color there. Okay, there you go. All right, so that's that. That's using the garden green. Now I have a product called Starry Sky. I'm going to use that, which are an ink that is called Starry Sky, one of our new in colors, using a larger blending brush. I'm going to do the same type of a technique. All right, you see how I'm just sort of getting ink on the brush, and you know that that says balmy blue, but it's a blue, and I tend to use all my, like colors, for example. And I'm going to start off because that's pretty darn dark. And I really don't want it quite that dark just yet. And then I'm just going to pull it on, pull the color on and into and in between here. I can make it as dark as I want to make it or as light as I want to make it. And it's okay if it gets on the other image. All right, this is kind of like twilight. All right, early evening maybe, before the stars really come out. So here we go. And there, nice and dark. And just keep rubbing and circular, doing it in a circular motion. It'll get it darker and darker and darker. All right, so now that's as much I think as I want to use there. So that's why I really love the blending, because it gives it a nice smooth look, especially if you start off at first so you don't have a blop of really dark color at first. All right, now I'm going to take my Versamark, which is a clear ink, and I'm going to use my stars because I didn't want to necessarily do the really white impression there. I decided to use the Versamark to give it the impression of stars, and some of this will be covered up so that you won't see quite so much of it. So here's the Versamark. Here is my clear photopolymer stamp set, or stamp, which is kind of like with snow or, kind of, here we go, snow or stars. And in a few minutes, you will see how that will start to come through and leave you with you can see that. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go. See, it leaves you with that image right there. All right. So there's that. And that will, as that dries, that'll become more and more evident. All right, so that's the Versamark. Ugh. That starry sky gets all over the place, doesn't it? All right. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to take your pick tool, because this is, you could use a fingernail as well, either way. Just pick up the mask off the edge of the stamp. Peel it off, because this does stick very, very well. And you see how that just sits right in the middle there? Okay, and I'm going to put that on there we go. And normally I'll go through and I'll throw those away a little bit later. But right now, we're just going to let it stay there. Make sure I got blue on my fingers here, and I don't want to get that on my card. All right. Okay, now I'm going to take and do a little bit more blending, but I'm going to take this mask that I talked about earlier, and I'm going to apply it to my paper to cover up the area around the area that I masked. Okay, and there's a reason for that. I want to take my yellow, which is Daffodil Delight, and I am going to, and I need to move this off of this part. Okay, I'm going to see how dark that is. Nope, I need it a little darker. All right, here we go. Okay, let that dry a little bit. And a little bit of my yellow. This is an old pad, by the way, so it's a little dry. All right, let's see what the yellow looks like. That's pretty dark. So I'm going to take this so that it looks like it's lit from the inside. So I'm just going to rub that right on that piece right there and make that look kind of golden, so that when we lift this piece off, you'll see that we have made that look. And by the way, that was stamped, that tent was stamped in I believe it was the early espresso. Okay, so there we go. So that's all the blending that we need to do. And then just pull this back off. And you see I protected around the edges of that. And this, of course, will be thrown away. I think there we go. Okay, there we go. A little bit of glow from the thing there. All right, and there is our image. Okay, there you go. All right, now I'm going to take that and I'm going to do some building here and put some pieces together. But I'm a little disappointed that that's not doing a better job of giving you the stars at night. But okay, it is what it is. Okay, let's see. using that. I need to do a little bit of gluing to get this together. So I'm going to glue this, adhere this to the piece of the bark embossed piece. And I have to use a really good adhesive in order to be able to do that, because it is all bumpy and this piece is a smooth piece. I need to make sure that this will adhere well to that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Okay. And that, again, that one was cut with the deckled rectangle as well, the larger size. And try to get my, there we go. Okay. We're building the layer that goes on the front of the cardstock. Now, next, I'm just set that aside just a minute. I'm going to add this to the little piece of the scrap of garden green that I've got, because we are going to use dimensionals in a minute and put that on the card. Again, looking at my all the way around to make sure that I have, there we go, a nice layer or as even as I can, a border all the way around there. Okay. Okay, let's put dimensionals on this. And I think, there we go. I'm just going to use 4. I believe that's enough. That's enough to keep it down. Okay. Well, I hope Kathy is watching tonight. That's a good thing. I hope I don't see any comments from Kathy, but I'm hoping she's watching. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate that. Oops. All these little pieces. These tiny little things, I swear, they get everywhere. You find them in your hair. It's just everywhere. So here's this. I'm going to put this in an appropriate spot. Let's see. Probably right about there. Looks good. Okay. There. Then I'm going to wait to put my embellishments on until after I get it on the body of the card. And that means I get my glue out again, my Tombow multi-purpose glue, which is, by the way, the best glue. You can use as much or as little, and of course it's better to use little because it doesn't take much to adhere. All right, make sure I have this going in the right direction. Again, placing this so that I have an even edge all the way around on all 4 sides as much as I can. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be, I'm okay with having it, at least it's even on this side and these 2 edges. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Again, that's the strongest glue I can put, except for the Terran tape, on that rippled piece, which is going on, that embossed piece, which is going on another smooth piece. So that's why it's important to use a really good adhesive. All right, so there is that. Let's get our matte dots out. And using my Take Your Pick tool, I am going to use, and I wish there was more, but I'm going to use these little ones right here. I think they're black or dark color, which will go nicely, I think. Okay, here we go. Put a little spot right there. Again, I usually do it in odd numbers, 3s or 5. Okay. And there we go. More of a triangle, very skinny triangle, but more of a triangle so that you're focusing on the sentiment. So there is my happy birthday card. This idea came from a card that I saw Sharon Armstrong make. And she did a beautiful job with it. I just modified it just a little bit, and then, changed how I did it just a little tiny bit. But there you go. There is the card. It looks slightly different, but because this looks less like it's floating. Um, and then there is the envelope that we did as well. All right. There's another card that I made with that same stamp set, the Campology stamp set. And this is what I did with that. It's called You Brighten My Path. Again, a different embossing folder. And this was, again, the deckled rectangle dies. I used a piece of Blackberry Bliss ribbon around the edge of it to kind of tie it down. And these were also deckled rectangle pieces that I cut out. And I took I colored the lantern the same way using the brush inside. So it would look like it's kind of hazy, like a lantern would look. And You Brighten My Path. And on the inside, it says Happy Birthday. Okay. And there is that one. I didn't put anything on the envelope this time. I will later, I think. And then finally, Cindy Brumbaugh did this amazing card with designer series paper. And I just had to show you guys how this was done. Again, I remember I told you about the paper that is called Enjoy the Journey. That's the paper that we used. And shoot, I didn't bring it over here. It is gorgeous, gorgeous paper. But here is kind of an indication looking at the colors that are there. Highland Heather, Starry Sky, Melon Mambo, Pumpkin Pie, Coastal Cabana, Garden Green. And they are scenes, and you can see from some of these cards as examples how those scenes are in the background, and you add the silhouettes to it. Well, we did something similar to this, okay? I had to make some modifications because, as I said earlier, I don't have the stamp set or the die set. So I had to kind of make my own silhouettes. So I think I did all right with it. But this is what I ended up doing. Here is the card. And it opens, rather than opening like this, it opens like this. And it says, wishing you the happiest of birthdays. And then, of course, on the back, there is a spot to write. But this is the designer series paper. And it's cut in half. Well, not really in half, but this is the bottom half of the one piece, a piece of the paper. And this is let me pull this other card out. This is the top half. And it's done kind of pretty much like this. And that's the way the designer series paper, it's 12 by 12, of course, so there's a strip in the middle that I had to cut out to make it fit my card. But I went ahead and I freehand cut the hill that he's standing on. This is a die from one of my stamp sets. This is also a die from a stamp set, a different one, but not the one that is the backpack, the guy with the backpack. This kind of looks like a guy with a backpack with a staff in his hand or a walking stick in his hand. So that was the best I could do, and I had to use the clouds from a different stamp set. But just sort of improvising most of the time. That's the way I roll because I don't always have everything I need. So I kind of look at what I have and then I try and do the best I can do with that. All right. So that's what I have for you this evening. And I'm hoping that, okay. Karen, thank you very much for letting me know. Kathy, thank you for being here for the replay. I'm glad you can do that. And anyway, this is the, so that's, this is gorgeous. This is absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't draw that. My mother could, but I could not draw that. Yeah, so it's lovely. It's really, really pretty. I really did enjoy that technique. And I think this is exclusively Cindy's design. And all I did was kind of modify it a little bit because of what I had on hand. And I think I'm trying hard not to order it, but I may end up ordering the stamp set. And whether it goes through to the next catalog or not, it might be a nice one to have as my stash for masculine birthday cards. Okay, so there you go. And I will be back with you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching the replay. I'm hoping that you enjoyed this and are inspired. And perhaps if you have some um, stamp sets on your own or some materials that you can make cards with that are similar, or if you're artistically inclined, you can draw your own, and then enjoy making masculine birthday cards. And this is You Brighten My Path. Happy birthday. All these are masculine birthday cards. So um, I will be back on the 14th. So every single time we meet in March, it's going to be a multiple of 7. So today's the 7th. I'll be back next week on the 14th and showing you some cards that I made with the stamp set that is a limited or a one of our online exclusives, the Irresistible Bloom stamp set and the die set. I'm already having fun playing with those. So we'll just see what I come up with. There's so many ideas. I really do enjoy looking at Pinterest and seeing how everybody uses the stamp sets and then figure out what I can do with what I have. So that's just how I roll. Thanks you. Take care and be aware of where you are and who you're with, and be kind and compassionate to everyone, and make sure that you do something creative every day.